Now, again, you've been in the other rooms. You know there's nothing in there, or at least you think so. And then a licker jumps flying through that mirror. It scares the
Yeah.
crap out of me at 5:30 in the morning when I'm
Yeah.
playing.
Or the three crows break through the hallway windows.
Yeah.
The zombie arms are the ones that got me so
yeah.
bad.
Yeah. I was gonna say that.
Audibly startled, like when I walked by, because I had already cleared that hallway. I thought I was good. Like just
It's
boom.
5:30 in the morning. Your wife and baby are asleep, and then you just hear Dawn muffled.
Like, oh shit.
Get off of me.
Welcome to the Cable Club. We're a retro video gaming podcast where three guys knife, hammer, and shoot our way through a nightmarish hellscape. And we're linking up to talk about the games we love.
2 nightmarish hellscapes today.
That's right. We're your hosts. I'm Steve.
I'm Dan.
And I'm Don. Of the Dead.
Ooh, I'm
Dawn of
Resident
the Dead.
Steve. And
The hammer.
this is episode number 19. And this week's episode is a Coliseum. And the two games that we have pitted against each other this week are Resident Evil 2, not the remake, because we're a retro gaming podcast, and Silent Hill. So get ready to upload data from us to you, but first, let's set the scene. It's 1999. A couple of your best buddies and you just out pizzaed the hut. You've got 12 packs of each Dr. Pepper and Coke, or whatever your favorite soda is, and your friend's parents are completely unaware of what you guys are doing at this sleepover. You're all watching as your best friend's older brother is playing some scary games in the dark. Everyone's huddled in their sleeping bags, eyes are wide open, and shallow, quiet breaths fill the room. Every new screen is an intense feeling of anxiety, and either relief or panic. Intense waves wash over everyone as zombies and monsters flood your mind. It's going to be a very hard night to fall asleep, whether it be because of the Song of the Dead or from the nightmares you're bound to have. Either way, this is the peak of your young adult life, and it's times like these that are rare to return.
Very nice. I was terrified of these type of games when I was a kid.
I was
So much
terrified
scarier.
this past 2 weeks.
I kind of want to say this. I would see my uncle play these games, or especially like the Resident Evil games, and like obviously you'd go to bed after, and then like I'd always like have a hard time falling asleep, and like I'd always try to like listen out to see if like my closet would make any noise because there'd be like a zombie in there or something.
Zombie be the least of your worries. Never mind like the liquor flicking across your window or something like that.
Such an annoying enemy.
I don't know what it is about the zombies in Resident Evil. In hindsight, they're like not even that scary, but like I don't know what it is.
It's the moaning.
Yeah,
100%.
I guess so.
100% the moaning. But before we get into all that,
yes,
we got some announcements to make first. So, we've been talking. We are a new podcast. We're less than a year old. We'll be here in November. And we appreciate everyone that's been sticking with us thus far. And we're glad you've all been patient about the changes that we've made as time goes on. And, I'm about to say we're going to make a few more, actually. So with life and things, playing these games, we want to really kind of bring the highest credibility we can to these episodes. We want to make sure that we're playing these games and giving our thorough thoughts and reviews. And the Coliseum episodes in particular, they weigh heavily on us. So we still want to do them. We do think that they're fun, but we think we're going to do them less frequently. So we will talk more about a schedule sometime in the future. But for now, Coliseums are no longer going to occur every 3 episodes. We're going to stick mostly to 1 game per episode. And we're still going to do viewer pools. We're still going to do viewer pools every 3 episodes. So if you're one of those folks that want to see your game on the show, don't worry, we're not touching that. But we want to make sure that when we bring a Coliseum forward, we have a really thorough analysis for you. Plus, there are ones that we really want to do that we know we couldn't possibly complete in 2 weeks, like something like Chrono Trigger versus Final Fantasy VI, right? Like that'd be a really sick Coliseum, but there's no possible way we could play both those games and do them justice in just 2 weeks' time. It's just with our, or I might just be speaking for myself, but with my schedule, it'd be impossible to actually do that.
Right.
Yeah, any PlayStation JRPG versus any other PlayStation JRPG is just not gonna happen.
But they'd be some of the best ones, right? And even these two games we're going to talk about today, a casual playthrough, if you've never played them, they're probably 6 to 8 hour experiences. Actually, I think Silent Hill is a little bit longer. I think it's more like 10 or 11. But
Right.
you know, again, we just want to make sure that we're covering these games thoroughly and we can fit it into our schedules. So we'll be moving to, I think, maybe random games. We might even pick a few games as hosts to try to share them with each other, and then we'll still do viewer pools every 3 episodes. So stay tuned for that, and thank you for sticking with us through these changes.
We love you.
Very much do. And with that, we'll get into the mailbag question of the week.
So, question of the week: build your own personal gaming Mount Rushmore. This is actually a really interesting one. Does anyone want to take it first, or should I go first?
I don't mind going first.
Sure, take it away.
So, for this to be a personal Mount Rushmore, kind of has me a little bit on like the edge of a couple picks. Like it's easy to go with the classics like Mario and Sonic and Link
Yeah, I hear you.
and all them. Um, but for me personally, what I've spent the most time in my life playing, it's gonna have to probably be Mario and Link because I played so much Mario and Zelda, like huge. And then next, I've played a ridiculous amount of Final Fantasy. That's like it's like my thing is Final Fantasy. So just in lieu of having a character that's really representative in all of them, I'm just going to pick Cloud because he's the most popular.
Makes sense. Yep.
And then the next series that I've played the most in my life is Pokemon. So just pick the mascot. I'll go with Pikachu on that.
For me, uh, so I've always been like a Mega Man fan. So obviously, like the first one that I'm going to pick would be Mega Man X. I do
X, huh?
like Mega Man. Yeah, I do like Mega Man, but I do like the Mega Man X series more. So that's why I went with Mega Man X, obviously. And this one, I'm not like a big fan of the like the game itself, but just the cameo appearance that it has. It's in Smash. So Star Fox, he's been my main since 64, all the way up till Smash Ultimate, and I just wouldn't feel right if I didn't put him on there because he's my boy when it comes to that series. And obviously, I've played a lot of Legend of Zelda too, so I put Link on there. And this one, I'm surprised Steve didn't pick this one, but Castlevania. I actually put Alucard on mine because I actually love Cynthia Knight, and I just fell in love with that character. So that's my Mount Rushmore.
Yeah, I wrestled with Simon Belmont
Oh, so you actually gave
And
it some
Mega
thought?
Man. Oh
Yeah.
yeah, Simon Belmont and Mega Man were like right there. But I think I've played Pokemon and Zelda and Mario and Final Fantasy more than those series.
I actually kind of did it both ways. So I think Steve went for like objectivity, and I think Dan went a little bit for like favoritism. So I kind of interpreted the question in both ways, but I'll start with like objectively. So I actually posed this question to a couple of groups on Facebook too, and got loads of responses. And I'll tell you that like I feel like the Mount Rushmore should represent some different like genres. We're talking like alchemy here, like earth, wind, fire, water kind of basic elements, right? And like Mario was nearly unanimous. Like I think there was like 5 people across like all of these answers that didn't say Mario somewhere in there. I mean, you know, and like when I think about platforming games, I think about Mario, I think about Sonic, I think about Mega Man, right? But like, and he's not my favorite of those characters. He's probably my least favorite of those characters, but like it really is just like the grandfather of video games in general, I think, as we know them now, right? So Mario definitely deserves a spot, no matter what. RPGs like brought storytelling to games, right? So that's a really basic one, but they're really hard to represent with like one recognizable character. And I
The
think,
Moogle.
yeah, yes,
Yeah.
the Moogle. The Moogle is the one that's going up on there. And then shooters. So shooters were a little bit later, at least like first person shooters, but the first one that kind of really took off and made them popular, I think, and has a huge history is Doom. So I
Yeah,
think the Doom guy really needs a spot on the mountain, right?
Hell yeah.
he's king of the mountain.
With the helmet on, right?
That's
And then this one's kind of silly, but puzzle games, right? And I think there's no more famous and no more hotly contested puzzle game than Tetris. So the L piece or the line piece of
Yeah.
Tetris is the
Tetramino.
last head of
Line
the line
piece.
piece.
Yeah.
So that's my objective Mount Rushmore. My favoritism Mount Rushmore
Oh,
is
great. He
probably
gets two.
yeah, yeah,
Oh.
Sonic the Hedgehog because you know I love him. Pikachu because I've played so much Pokemon in my life. Believe it or not, Samus. Like when we started this podcast was really like the first time I had ever played Metroid game. Oh wait, I
Yeah.
played Metroid Dread with Steve. So you guys
Yeah.
actually turned me on to Samus in my adult life, and now Samus
And
is like
Mega
so up
Man,
there with me. Samus is
you
awesome.
owe us so
Yeah,
much.
it's shaped my life. And then yeah, Mega Man would be my last pick definitely, and it's going to be the classic Mega Man because he represents all the iterations of Mega Man. I really can't pick one over the other. So it's my
Fair
personal
enough.
one.
Fair enough.
That's what we said. We have some Discord responses too. We have Happy, who says Sonic the Hedgehog, my man. Link, Laura Croft, which I
Good
definitely
one.
agree. I feel like Laura Croft could actually be a slot in for Link. Because I feel like the game's kind of similar. Would you guys agree that like Tomb Raider and Zelda have a lot in common?
They have
Um,
some things in common, but the
yeah.
gameplay is very different.
Yeah. They're different
Hmm.
enough to be their own IPs for sure.
And then he also said John Madden, which I find hilarious.
Yeah,
But
I
hey,
like that answer.
sports games are very popular. I can't fault him for that. We had Wingard, who I think is being super sarcastic with this. Minecraft Steve, which I feel like Minecraft Steve is already built into Mount Rushmore somewhere. You just have to
Yeah.
zoom in far enough to see the
He's
pixels.
the one making it.
Generic soldier from Call of Duty. Shaquille O'Neal from Shaq Fu. And the Dragonborn, which I'm assuming he picked because it's a really high character customization meme, basically. But I'm thinking the guy with the horn helmet yelling Fus
Yeah.
Roda.
Yeah.
And I have a
Yeah.
pretty clear image of that guy, which I think would be hilarious on Mount Rushmore.
Now I'm just thinking of like a Mount Rushmore of gaming that's all real people, like Pierce Brosnan's 007, and then you have John Madden and like Shaquille O'Neal all on your
It's
gaming
just,
Mount Rushmore.
oh, God.
What do you have? Arnold Schwarzenegger on True Lies, the Sega Genesis cart, or is it NES?
It's on SNES. I don't know if it's also on Genesis. I know it's definitely on SNES. I mean, he could be there for the Terminator games on NES, but he doesn't deserve it. It's
Well,
hilarious.
Yeah, it's
Only
pretty funny
he's not
answer.
Arnold Schwarzenegger. He's the Terminator. He's Arnold Schwarzenegger dressed like the Terminator on Mount Rushmore. Like he has the glasses. Um, Danko Misty says Zelda, not Link, or maybe she meant Link. I don't know. Zelda, Samus, Lara Croft again, and Pikachu. I can agree.
Obviously, with the heart tail representing all the ladies there.
Lycianthia says Sonic, love it. Mega Man, love it. Link, don't love it all that much. And Pikachu, love it very much.
Wow.
Wow, Pikachu's
It's
railing it
not
home.
our fault that you've never finished a Zelda game.
No, it's definitely me. I own that. I'm not going to sit here and say that they're bad games, but it's definitely
I mean,
me.
you've watched me play through enough of them to know.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so popular, it can't possibly be a bad game, right?
Right.
It's not really good credential, I guess. But
A Twilight Princess, the double claw shot. Oh, Link will just put it back. I already have one of these.
yeah, because you spend other parts of the game when you have enough stuff, he just puts it back in the chest.
And Ganondorf's just all upset. That dragon was a checkmate.
He won't pick up a second hook shot. He'll be like, I already have one. I'm gonna put it back.
All the rupees you've put back because you have too many.
He has
That's
unlimited pocket size, unlike some people in our games of the week.
Yeah, brutal.
Are you guys ready to get into that?
Absolutely.
Ready.
All right, let's go. So today we have for you in one corner a sequel to, I'd say, pretty much the OG survival horror game. We have Resident Evil 2. No, kind of like shaking
Well,
your head.
there's some
What's the other
there's
one?
it's the sequel. Yeah, but Resident Evil wasn't the first survival horror game that was popular. There's a PC game, and I think it's called Alone in the Dark. That's very popular. One of the oldest survival horror puzzle kind of games. But
Ah,
yeah, I mean, Resident Evil was like a real mainstream like console home release that wasn't PC. So you're kind of right, but
the follow-up to the pioneer of survival horror games that brought it to the simple masses like us who play consoles and not computers. So Resident Evil 2 is the follow-up published by Capcom, and it is, like I said, a survival horror game. So it's a game designed to scare you and stress you out, as it does me very, very much. This type of game is not my thing. I play
Yeah.
games to escape the world, not to get more stressed out. But basically, it takes place across different scenarios. You can play as a couple different characters, Leon or Claire. And then I think when you finish the game, there might be even more characters you can play as on certain versions. And there's multiple
Yeah.
scenarios, and you run away from zombies and gather resources and fight bosses, and there's a story and all that. In the other corner, we have Silent Hill, made in 1999 by Konami, which I think was the other heavy hitter at this time. I think when the NES was out, I feel like Konami, with its titles, was definitely like the stronger of these two publishers, although it was definitely close, because on Capcom's side you had like Mega Man, right? But on Konami's side you had Contra,
Street Fighter.
yep, Street Fighter, right? And then I
Yep.
feel like around this era, this like PlayStation 1 N64 era, I think they really kind of leveled out at this point. I think nowadays Capcom is probably a little bit ahead. And I'm not talking about how much money the studios make. This is all anecdotal, right? Because I don't actually know how much money the studios make, but they're both obviously very juggernaut third-party studios.
Yeah. It definitely
Yeah,
seems that way.
I think Konami was ahead in NES.
Yeah,
They also
probably
have
right.
Yeah,
they also
I
have
think so.
Castlevania.
Yeah,
Yep,
Castlevania's a
Castlevania.
big one. It's a shame. Yeah, it's a shame that they haven't like really done much with the IP as of late. You
Well,
know,
it's a
that
shame.
Yeah,
was like
and
a
It's a shame
heavy hitter, I
Capcom.
feel like.
aren't
It's a
they
shame Capcom hasn't
Metal
done anything
Gear
with
too?
Mega Man. Metal
Yeah, that
Gear.
too. I
Yeah.
mean,
Isn't that Konami? Kojima
kinda,
was with Konami.
yeah. Yep.
Yeah, Konami
You know,
is
it
pretty
takes
good. Dude, Konami, Rocket Knight Adventures.
fair enough.
That's Konami.
Some bias. Back to scary places. I'd much rather talk about these other games. Trust me, I'd much rather talk about Rocket Knight Adventures than these. But Silent Hill is a little bit of a different game, but kind of a similar formula where you have limited resources, you're running away from monsters. Except I think in Silent Hill they take a little bit more of a creep factor approach. Resident Evil definitely does some jump
Yeah.
scares.
Yeah,
But Silent Hill tries to make you actually afraid or creeped out of the things that are on your screen. And it's a little bit of a uh, the gameplay
it's a
is a
lot
little
more
bit different, but
psychological horror than it is like just physical. Like I don't know. Like when I was kind of playing Silent Hill, I just noticed a difference. Like I didn't feel like as anxious in the same ways, and it's hard to really put into words the difference. But I feel like Silent Hill like messes with you more. It
Oh
feels
yeah,
more psychological
for
than
sure.
it does just
yeah.
reality. Like
And I mean,
it bases itself in like much more fiction. You know.
yeah. I don't want to spoil it too much, um, because we're going to talk about this in our game talk. So just in case this is your first time tuning in, this is a Coliseum episode where we review two games in the context against each other. Normally, we would take them across our five categories, which are gameplay, um, pacing, presentation, uh, playability, and we're X Factor, what we're now calling choice specs, which is kind of like a free category. And we discuss each of those categories and kind of side one way or the other with the games. Today, we're going to discuss the games together openly, and we're going to grade the categories at the end of the discussion. And I'll give a brief description of what the categories are before we grade them, so don't worry. Just to give you an overview of Coliseum. So without further ado, we can just jump into talking about these games. Um, and yeah, what Steve was saying, right off the bat, as like an X Factor choice specs thing, I I can only think of a few games that mess with you, like fourth wall break you in the same way that Silent Hill does, and they're usually later.
Yeah.
Like this is one moment in the hospital where so we were all playing together and
Oh yeah, yeah.
Steve unlocked this like elevator, right? And he was going up and down floors, and then he couldn't figure out where to go, and then he ran around on like a bunch of other floors, and then he came back to the elevator, and he was like, "Oh, did I go to the fourth floor?" And we were like, "Oh, I don't think so." It completely went over our heads that the fourth floor
Yeah.
button was not there the first time you look at it. The game is designed this way in several different ways to screw
Yeah.
with you, and I thought that was so interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the fourth floor doesn't appear until you take the elevator to all the other floors.
Right. So like yeah,
And
like
it's
you got to leave the elevator and there's not really where you can't go anywhere because the doors are locked. So you go back in the elevator, go up to the next floor, then the doors are locked again. And then when you go back in the elevator, then that fourth one appears. And we all didn't even notice. I think Don was actually the one that pointed it out. He was just like, "Was there a fourth floor?" And me and Steve was like, "I don't know."
I was just
it
so
really
busy trying to
messes
Yeah.
with
keep
you.
all my stuff straight in my
Uh,
head.
Yeah.
So, how about the bathrooms
Yeah,
in
in
the
the
other world?
schoolhouse. In the schoolhouse, yeah. Yeah,
yeah,
because
it's a similar sort of thing, right? Where you're like coming out one door and it's shoving you out a different door, and you'll only know if you look at your map and you're like, wait, something's up.
yeah,
Yeah,
so
you
I
change
think
floors.
yeah, I think that's the first like you really see it too. So it's like you'll go into a bathroom on like the first floor and then you'll leave it and then you'll come out like on the second floor and you probably at that point in time you're not thinking you're on a different floor. So you go into the next bathroom adjacent to that one, and then you quickly find out that you're like teleporting between all these bathrooms because then you check your map and you're like, wait a minute, I thought it was on the first floor. Why am I on the second floor? So yeah, like Silent Hill, like the I think it's called the Other World. It does a lot of these things where it like messes with your head psychologically, and you have to like pay attention to it.
Yeah, I found it pretty fun actually. Like feeling lost in a way that like isn't frustrating as much. Like
Yeah,
initially in the game, like I was having a hard time trying to find out where to go. That was difficult. But the more that I played, the more they backed off from that type of exploration.
yeah,
And Resident Evil's world, just to contrast it, is definitely like what you see is what you get. Resident Evil,
yeah.
like that storyline is not a dream. Leon doesn't
No,
wake up later or discover he's dead or anything like that. Not. Uh,
No.
it relies a lot on jump scares, but it's more of like that like fantasy sci-fi mad scientist kind of like biology body horror kind of
right.
thing, right? And like you play as a cop, so your character's like combat trained, and it's like
Kinda.
a yeah, kind of. He's
First day
he's
on the
very
job
yeah.
on
This
the
is
force.
this is bright eye and bushy tailed Leon Kennedy before he was before he was the essence that is man that we know him
Before
Yeah,
as
he
today.
was the ultimate killing machine.
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Like, well, how about like right when you start off the game, right from the get go, it's just like you're like surrounded by like three or four zombies, and if you're new to like Resident Evil series and you're not used to tank controls, that is a battle in itself.
I died 3 times.
Yeah,
At that beginning area. Once
Uh,
because I wasn't used to the tank controls. Second
uh,
time because I didn't know how to shoot the gun. And third time because I did know how to shoot the gun and I was careless, basically.
well, Don would not have made it to Spain to fight the Las Plagas.
No, definitely not. But like, so listen, my one if I'm just gonna like gripe about gameplay for a minute here, and I know these games are both considered masterpieces. I think particularly Resident Evil 2 is more popular based on
yeah,
our Discord and based on the Facebook groups. But uh, Resident Evil 2 does this thing where like there's multiple screens, despite you
yeah,
being in the same zone. There's like a fixed camera,
yeah,
and like if you're on one screen, you can't hit the things on the other screen, but the screen might just be like you and 6 inches in front of you, and
yeah,
that's the screen you're on. And the minute something enters that screen, it's going to hit you. It feels cheap. Like
yeah,
the major upgrade of going from Resident Evil 2 to Silent Hill was the fact the camera at least tries to follow you.
yeah,
Like you're sharing a room with everything. If you can see it, you can hit it. Like
yeah.
oh,
Like with Resident Evil, it almost feels like the controls are different in every screen just because of the fixed camera angles. So like you pressing up or whatever could be going down on a screen, and then like the screen next to it or whatever, because the camera angle is different, you pressing up can make your character move in a different way. So you have to like kind of adjust depending on the camera angle, which
As
it's it.
opposed to Silent Hill, though, there's that right in the beginning of the game. They have this one hallway, this alleyway that the camera changes a million times.
Oh
But
yeah,
that game has the benefit of if you're holding up on your D pad, you run straight forward no matter the angle of the camera.
you do You do in Resident Evil 2,
yeah,
which is
same.
which is how they get away with the camera angle changing when you move. Despite it being fixed. Like if I'm on a screen where Leon is facing away from me, and I press up, he walks forward. And then if the next screen is like a side shot of Leon running across, if I'm still holding forward, he'll keep running across. But
Yeah,
I have to adjust my brain to thinking like, oh, I'm
right,
holding up and I'm still moving. Like
right.
it's your brain that
Yeah,
that
so
has to adjust.
Yeah.
so with tank controls, it's how it sounds. It's like if you press like pressing up means your character moves forward. It doesn't matter like the screen or whatever. It's the move forward button. Pressing down is moving backwards no matter what. And then obviously left and right is just to turn your character.
Who turns in place.
Yeah.
For those of us who haven't driven a tank before, that was a pretty good explanation of what's going on here.
Yeah.
Well, I know that as far as controls go, you can strafe in Silent Hill.
Kind of.
No, you can.
Yeah, he like shuffles though.
You
It's
use
not
a
like
use a
a
trigger button like R1 and L1. He'll strafe.
Yeah, so I
like
didn't know that.
fast.
I think so. Like I didn't notice that. So I watched a speed run with Steve, and this dude was like strafing, and we're like, "Holy
Running
crap! I didn't know."
diagonally.
Yeah, I didn't know you could do that.
Dude, you know what it reminded me of? He was like the bullets on Wanted. He was like curving around objects and things because the way he was running, it was really quite funny.
Yeah.
Harry is more adept than the Resident Evil characters at this point. He definitely would give Doctor, what's his name, Durkin?
Oh,
Durkin?
Birkin.
Oh,
Birkin.
Birkin.
Yeah.
I was actually thinking Gherkin, like Mister Pickle himself. But yeah, Birkin. I think you give Birkin a run for his money.
You know, this guy that's just on vacation too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's supposed to be just like a normal guy, but
Yeah.
like he bats dogs out of the air, you know,
Oh
with
yeah.
a pipe. I mean, and actually, you know what? I want to talk about the melee combat
Oh
for
yeah.
for for a second. So they give you a
God,
knife in Resident Evil 2
it's
to
so
like make you
bad.
think it's okay. It's not. It's unacceptable. You box that thing pretty much as soon as you get it. Like if it
Yeah.
comes down to the knife, you're dead.
Yeah.
Like
It- I don't know why they made the knife so weak. It like literally, and I'm not joking. Like it can take up to like 16 to 20 strikes to kill like a single zombie, and that's just not feasible. Like I
No,
know
not when there's
like
three
there's
of them
some
on the
tactics
screen.
where like you can shoot the zombie down, and then like you can switch to your knife and give it a couple like knife stabs as it's on the ground, and then switch back to your gun. But you know that's
Ain't
just a
nobody got
hassle.
time for that.
Yeah, it's a hassle to do that every time, and so like
I
they
don't like
definitely.
that he never learns to shoot him in the head either. It kind of
Yeah,
goes hand in hand with that, right? Like, if you watch like the Walking Dead series, they just get good at stabbing zombies in the head because
yeah.
after a while there's no more ammunition. So like anytime they encounter a zombie, they
Well,
just nonchalantly stick the sharpest thing they have on them in the
the
head.
cutscene that right before you meet Claire, right in the beginning of the game, he's shooting all these zombies. He's like, "I'm gonna run out of ammo," and then Claire opens the door and he goes, "Duck!" and she ducks and he shoots that zombie once, right between the eyes, and it dies immediately. And he didn't learn from that,
No, it takes 5 to 7 bullets to put down a single zombie because he doesn't shoot him in the head.
unless you have the shotgun.
Yeah,
So, aging factor there. Modern Resident Evil games are much better about that.
Yeah,
yeah,
I think, and it makes it a little bit more believable. And I guess Silent Hill, it's a little bit more excusable because again, Harry's supposed to be a normal guy, not a cop.
but
But like
even then, he
also,
can kick the enemies while they're on the ground and take
I
them
know.
out.
Harry's a beast, dude.
yeah, well, but the things he fights don't really have clear weak points the way that zombies do, right? And
Yeah,
Maybe.
like the people in Resident Evil universe have heard of zombies. They say zombies. They're like everyone there was turned into a zombie. Like they're like living in our world. Like if a zombie apocalypse happened now, we would know.
The
You got to
zombies
hit
would
him in the
lose
head.
very
yeah.
Yeah,
quickly in our world.
maybe depends on if they're fast zombies.
Everybody knows the weakness of a zombie in our world.
Did you see World War Z? We don't have enough bullets for that.
There's way more bullets than people.
But anyway, uh, but yeah, oh yeah, and Harry gets an execution move if we want to call it that.
The
Yeah.
overhand? Or are you talking
No,
about the
Oh,
kick?
the kick.
a little
Okay.
Yeah.
kick.
Yeah.
Well,
It
you could see
instantly
why
kills whatever's on the ground. Doesn't matter.
you could see why I thought the overhead attack because that's what an executioner would do,
Yeah.
right?
No, it's a little kick. He's got the
Yeah. That's funny.
tap dancing heels of death.
He
But
kick
like
them and they
the
go, and they die.
yeah. But like as we're talking about like melee in general, Silent Hill actually has different weapons that you can get. Like
Yeah,
it
melee
actually
weapons.
it keeps melee relevant throughout the whole game. And
Yeah,
you can get like a pipe, you can get like a hammer, you
Chainsaw.
chainsaw, like
katana.
I
Yeah,
feel like
katana.
yeah, like seriously, like and I guess it does save ammo, so maybe it makes it less scary when you're like killing everything with a melee weapon and you're just stockpiling ammo. because I know with Resident Evil you can't like feasibly like melee everything, especially if you're new to the series. So you're always low on ammo, and maybe that's just by design.
I
Yeah,
think
I think it
Resident
is.
Evil is scarier
Yeah,
for me.
I think so.
Like just the like random crap that happens, like when you go into the interrogation room, right, and you can see through the two-way mirror and you're looking into the interrogation room, there's nothing in there, right? And then eventually you go get the key that unlocks the interrogation room. You go into the interrogation room, you pick up the item that you saw. Now again, you've been in the other rooms, so you know there's nothing in there, or at least you think so. And then a licker jumps flying through that mirror, scares the
Yeah,
crap out of me at 5:30 in the morning when I'm
yeah,
playing.
Or the three crows break through the hallway windows.
yeah.
The zombie arms are the ones that got
Yeah,
me so
Yeah,
bad.
yeah.
I like
I was
I
gonna
like
say that.
audibly startled. Like when I walk by because I had already cleared that hallway. I thought I was good. Like
it's
just
it's
boom.
5:30 in the morning. Your wife and baby are asleep, and then you just hear Dawn muffled.
Like, oh shit.
Get off of me!
Uh,
His wife's like, "What the hell's going on down there?"
yeah, so
What's
Silent
wrong?
Hill didn't have a lot of jump scares. It just had that creepy factor.
Yeah, like I don't want to go in there.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah.
like the morgue in the hospital.
Yeah, no. And like you can hear stuff happening behind walls. Like if you're in the school and you're next to the music room, there's something wailing on the piano, or like Dan said, the morgue, you can hear like moaning coming from the morgue, and you're like, I don't want to go in there.
and like in the hospital in the Otherworld version, every time you went into a room and then you went to leave the room, the camera would change from its fixed angle to face the door instead of the inside of the room, and then you'd hear bang.
Yeah,
So you feel like there's something in the room, and you turn back around, there's nothing.
I would be out of that door so fast.
he puts a skip in his step as soon as he hears the bang.
Ooh.
Yeah, no, I
It's
think that'd be
just
all three of us.
or like the giant spiders in Resident Evil. I thought these so like you guys said to me, "Oh yeah, you can when you go in the sewers, there's giant spiders, but you can just run past them." So I
Yeah,
figured, and then like I saw one, and I was like, "Oh, it's probably slow, right?" And then it starts coming down the hall like fast, and I'm like, "Oh god!"
yeah, the footsteps. Yeah,
But like the thing about the game, like because I love scary movies. I watch plenty of them and they don't bother me. But like the thing about Resident Evil is like it's designed to create stress. Like
yeah,
just like everything. Like okay, you have limited ammo. You find a shotgun. I was like hoarding shotgun ammo like they were diamonds. Like
yeah,
if I had to pop one off, I was like really in trouble, right? Like there'd
yeah,
be like 5 or 6 zombies. I'd cluster them up and just pop one off and try to kill as many as possible. But like but then there's like other stuff like healing items and ink ribbons. Like,
Yeah,
oh, what do you mean? I can only save a certain amount of time?
yeah,
Then what? I'm just screwed if I
yeah.
save too many times?
Right.
Like, and it's just like,
yeah,
and like they give you plenty. It's not a real thing. Like, I think there's probably like 30 of them across the game. You don't need to save 30 times, but like psychologically, you're thinking to yourself like, oh, like everything's a finite resource, and then
Right.
like they make your character limp around and slow down when they're hurt. Like just the whole darn game is like it just puts you on edge.
Yeah.
Like
and then
Or no.
having limited inventory
Yeah.
space, so if you haven't like went to the item box in a while, you feel like you could be entering a new area and not have enough inventory space to pick up something you need.
yeah,
Like,
everything.
yeah,
Yeah. It's like, oh well, I kind of have to put these healing items away because I can't. I don't have enough room for these keys. Yeah. Healing items. Something that you'd want. You just
Which
stash
I
it
can't
away.
decide like if that's so I think the item inventory is over the top. I think that is such a pain in the neck. And in this early installment, I don't think it's handled well. I much prefer the Silent Hill. He just carries everything with him. It's fine. Doesn't bother me at
yeah.
Yeah.
all.
I mean, like, I understand from like a logical logistics point of view, like you don't have an unlimited inventory in real life, but this is a part that, like, in my opinion, I think if your game is capable of having unlimited inventory, then you should. Like, it's
Yeah,
just,
it just causes more menuing for no reason.
yeah, it makes it takes you out of the game, and it takes you like all this extra effort just to manage inventory, and like nobody wants to do that.
Leon's got to crush his herb.
He's got
He's
Yeah.
to put
rolling
what
it
is
up
that?
in the paper.
What
He's
is
got
it?
rolling paper with him all the time. Just saying.
Pestle and mortar.
Yeah.
Just pulls it out. He's like grinding it.
I think it's more of like they just like Don was saying, it was just to add more like of the stress factor. Is like you literally can't hold everything. Like you can't hoard all the guns and stuff like that. Like obviously you can't have like a shotgun, have that ammo, have the handgun, have that ammo, and then have like a SMG with the you
But
just
you
don't have the
can
space for it.
in Resident Evil 4.
Yeah, because and you play like Tetris with it, and I guess it's like a fun little mini game, whatever.
Yeah,
That's
Um,
better than what they had.
yeah, oh yeah, but and I think it's effective because it does that whole like, oh well, I can't have unlimited inventory space, but I
Yeah,
don't
it's
think
an
it comes across as
actual
annoying.
inventory
So
management system. Like it's supposed to feel kind of tactical in a way that you are. I
yeah.
mean, we're getting off on a tangent in Resident Evil 4, but like the difference is that it's like you are a trained military personnel and it's a tactical thing. Whereas in Resident Evil 2, it just feels like a slog, like a bother to have to deal with your inventory. It's
Wear a damn backpack or
yeah,
something.
and if your goal is to build stress, I do think the inventory limited space helps because I do think that is something that alleviates the stress when you play Silent Hill is that you can just carry everything, you don't have to worry about it.
Right, and you have all
Um,
your guns, all your ammo, and stuff like
yeah,
that. You can't do that in Resident Evil. You just don't have the space.
I mean, I would just argue that even though it helps induce more stress to have it that way, I just don't have as much fun as like inventory managing. Like it's
Yeah,
just more fun the way that Silent Hill approached their
yeah. It's
inventory.
it's not for everybody. I know some people do like it that way, but like again, it's it's whatever your cup of tea is.
Right.
oh yeah, and it's also the tank controls too. Now I feel like we're going to talk about tank controls a lot. I don't think they're that bad. I really don't. But
No,
it really is another thing that stresses you out because you think to yourself, oh, if I get cornered, I actually have to think about how I'm
yeah,
gonna move.
right,
Like, versus like another game like I don't know, like Crash Bandicoot. Like if you hit left, he moves left.
yeah.
Like
It's definitely something you have to get used to, like with tank controls. But the more you play with it, the more you get better with it, obviously. And but
Yeah.
it is the added scare factor is not having full control of your character is especially like if you're new to the game that just adds to it because it's like it's not modern controls, I can't just run how I'm supposed to run
it,
how I normally
Well, I
would.
think as far as like controlling the characters go, I think that like personally, I like the way that Silent Hill kind of gave you some room to run around. Right in the beginning of the game, like Don was saying, he died 3 times on the first screen because you're just like bombarded with so many enemies and they're all like blocking the pathways. You don't have any ammo and you have to figure out these controls, and it was really kind of frustrating in a
Yeah.
not
Leon
the
like
right
does
way.
not shoot fast. You're like, dude, just squeeze it. Like just go. Like he's like, boom, boom. It just does not feel like he is threatened enough by this. Like I'd be ripping through those bullets in that clip.
Yeah.
As long as you're accurate.
Yeah, quantity over quality, I guess. Spray and pray.
So, how did you guys feel about the worlds in general? Like, so I know that in Silent Hill you have some areas you can explore in the first world map, I guess you would call it, and then you also get a second world map not too far into the game, and then you have like the dungeon structure. But in Resident Evil 2, you're like mostly isolated to the police department. It's like one big dungeon. How do you guys feel about the differences?
Well, for me, like I'll start with Resident Evil. I mean, obviously you start, in the police station or whatnot. Then you move to the sewers. Then like you move to like some underground laboratory.
Yeah,
So
it's like
like
the underground umbrella factory or whatever it
yeah,
is.
so it does change a decent amount. The problem I have with Silent Hill is they don't seem different enough. Like when you're going between like the maps, like from light to dark. It's just basically like a different skin. And like obviously some doors might be locked that wasn't originally. But I wish there was a little more to it, like when you changed worlds, where it was like maybe like the map that you say when you get the map, like maybe like the whole map is different or something, but the map's the exact same.
It's supposed to be like a parallel version of
Yeah,
it or something. So it's supposed to be the same, like um, canonically, but I can see how, in a gameplay sense, you would want some more variation.
right. I mean, the map does look a little different. Like obviously it's like a new skin, but like maybe like so I think like the floor and like the dark well might be like torn up a bit. So like sometimes like will have to like maneuver your character to avoid the
Yeah,
holes. I
especially
mean,
in the hospital. Like instead of
yeah,
it just being straight floors, they were all like circle grates, kind of like the middle was all taken out. So you had to
right,
like plan your movement a little bit better to dodge enemies or
yeah,
whatever.
I also like just going back to the single dungeon. So like Resident Evil kind of feels a little bit like a Metroidvania almost, where like
yeah. It
there
is.
are different like biomes, but they are all like, all kind of connected until you I feel like until you take the elevator down into the factory. The factory definitely feels the most disjointed
Yeah,
out of them, but yeah, it's all like one big area basically. I feel like that police chief read the Da Vinci Code way too many times.
He had like
like
puzzles
like
in
what
his
is
police.
going
yeah,
on here?
Yeah,
He's like buying all these paintings. He's spending taxpayer dollars like on these giant rubies to like put in statues and with like
just
switches and
to get my spade key.
yeah, yeah, right. The four suit keys,
yeah,
the chest like spark plugs or whatever they are.
yeah.
Like this guy has a hobby. Like it's
He should be designing escape rooms. He shouldn't be running a police
Right.
headquarters.
he did. It's the police station. And then you like find files, and he's like, "Hey, instead of keeping all the bullets in one place, gun violence is on the rise. Let's scatter them all throughout the police station." And that's why you find ammunition everywhere,
Yeah,
not just in the armory.
yeah,
It
It's
was
just
wild.
crazy. But I like that Resident Evil, or sorry, Silent Hill was like this one big open area. I mean, it's not an open world game by any stretch, but it has like a world map. It felt
yeah.
very it felt very Zelda,
Right.
Ocarina of Time ish,
Yeah.
right?
Silent
Where you
Hill
have that.
is basically the world map.
Y-
It's called Silent Hill.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
town.
So
but
yeah, the
it
town.
feels big.
It
It really
does.
does. Like it actually
I
feels like
mean,
you are walking through a small town. I mean, it is square, which would be weird for a small town, because
Yeah.
it's set up kind of like city blocks. But like the uh, the way that they do it, I have to give credit where credit is due with this. Like they have this fog, this really dense fog that impairs your vision, and that's a way for the game to load perpetually as you're walking through the town. Because back in these days, the game had to pull all the memory, all the game data from CDs,
yeah, it
which is
helped
a
Right.
with
really
that
slow memory load.
the draw
Yeah.
distance.
Yeah.
Right. So they completely eliminated that, and I think as a result, they were really able to stretch the size of Silent Hill and make it feel like it was big. Like you have streets. Streets have names. There's residential neighborhoods. There's a shopping district. Like it really does feel like the school building is a feasible size, right?
Right.
Like to be an actual school relative to Harry's size.
Yeah.
The police station feels like the mansion. Like if I go to Providence Police Station over here, this place is like like
Yeah.
the police station in Raccoon City is like a palace compared to that
Yeah.
place.
I believe the police station was actually a museum at first, so that's why it looks like that.
Oh, okay. It's like this huge, grandiose police
Yeah.
station with like these big vaulted ceilings, and I'm like, come
Yeah.
on.
Yeah. No, it was a museum at first before it became the police station.
Makes sense.
But yeah, like I also know that with Silent Hill, like there's more to the map too. Like once you get far enough, like there's additional world maps, which
Yeah, I made it to the second one, which is where
yeah.
the hospital
So
is.
I feel like there's a lot of gameplay. Like it might not be long if you know what the heck you're doing, but if it's your first playthrough, going through that game, I feel like you could easily spend 10 plus hours on it.
Yeah, I mean,
If you don't
exploring
know
the
if
area.
you're not knowing what you're doing, like these games take a lot longer to actually beat.
There's also four endings to Silent Hill, but there's definitely 4 endings to Resident Evil as well. So
Yeah, depending on like the scenarios and whatnot.
kind of really interesting parallels there. Yeah,
Yeah,
you know what? I want to talk about that a little bit. So like, I guess Silent Hill you could play through, or you could save Scum and get all 4 endings, and I think that wouldn't be too hard. But like Resident Evil, legit is like 2 games. Like you can play Leon or Claire, and the scenarios that you play through are definitely different enough
yeah,
where
yeah,
it's not just like a reskin. And
right,
they affect each other based on the data on your memory card. Like if you take a machine gun as Leon, it's not going to be there as Claire, and if you skip it, it'll be there. For instance, just
yeah,
little things like that.
yeah, and they also get like different loadouts too. Like I know, for instance, like Leon will get like shotguns and whatnot, and I don't think Claire ever gets a shotgun, but in turn she gets like a grenade launcher, I believe it is.
Grenade
So
launcher would be so much better in this instance.
yeah, so like they actually, there is reasons to play the different scenarios, because like Dawn said, like you, if you do something in one game, in the next scenario it might not necessarily be there. So it does come with like tactical thinking of, if you're gonna play the other scenario, that like, okay, well maybe I shouldn't take this, so I can save it for the next scenario. And then you can also play the scenarios in reverse or whatnot. Like, so you could do like Leon A and then Claire B, or you could do Claire A and then Leon B.
I was so confused by that when I was looking at guides this week.
Yeah,
I'm like, what do you mean Leon A? What do you mean Leon B? What is this? I had to like go down a separate rabbit hole to figure out exactly what I was looking at.
yeah.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of replayability when it comes to Resident Evil 2, because
Also, Mr. X. So like I
oh
knew
yeah,
Mr. X before I played this game. I'd never played Resident Evil 2 back in the day. This was my first romp through it. So I'm fully expecting eventually for there to be a tyrant enemy that's following me around throughout this game, and there isn't if you play through it once as Leon. Like you actually have to play a second playthrough for Mr. X to drop and follow you around. And I feel like he's such a famous part of that game, which
yeah,
tells me a lot of people replayed it.
right. So I think it's like they kind of like, if you beat the game once, so it's kind of like, all right, we're gonna make it a little harder on you now, since this isn't your first rodeo. So now we're gonna send an enemy that like is gonna constantly follow you throughout the police station, and he can be a beast. He's not fast by any stretch of the imagination, but he is a bullet sponge, and it is worth killing him if you can, if you have like the extra bullets to expend, because when you kill him, the first couple items that you get from him, it's not really all that special, but like each like subsequent kill after that, like it starts getting like better. Like sometimes you'll get like
Like
inventory upgrade, or like you'll get like a new gun.
Magnum ammo.
Yeah, but again, like I know when I played it back in the day, I just avoided them, like straight up. I was just like, I'm not
That's
dealing with this.
too much
I
ammo.
think a lot of people did.
Yeah,
Uh, oh yeah, the weapons. I got the Magnum, and I popped a liquor right in the face and killed it with one hit.
Magnum has always been the boss killer in the
And then
Resident Evil games.
and then later on, you get upgrade parts for it. I was like, is this real? Upgrade for that?
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah, the Magnum's always been, at least for me, like for the most part, boss only. But sometimes it's like you need to whip it out, because sometimes you don't have anything else.
Yeah,
Just not feeling it right now. Just pull that
yeah,
thing out.
especially in Resident Evil 4, I saved all my Magnum stuff for the bosses.
Yeah.
So I didn't get a Magnum when I played, but I got the shotgun, and um, and in Silent Hill I got the shotgun and the regular gun, and then I got up to the hammer in the
Oh
hospital.
God, that hammer!
Dude, you want to talk about a melee weapon? Woo!
I
Take,
swear to God, there must have been like a ray of light like shining on that hammer when you grabbed it. That's what it felt like.
pick it up. It's like, yeah, oh.
Yeah, watching like enemies that were just bullet sponges fall to 4 hits from this hammer, and the hammer just becomes the the chief weapon, the lightsaber, the
Yeah.
keyblade. You know, it's like your new weapon to fight the darkness. Is this
Swinging
Yeah.
it around, it's going boom, boom,
big
boom,
sledgehammer? Yeah,
boom.
I've said it once and I'll say it again. Harry definitely would beat the crap out of out of Resident Evil 2.
Oh man, you're not wrong.
So
So
I think Silent Hill came to be because the Konami executives, they were like, all right, we need some kind of cash cow idea that we can like repeatedly pump games out for along the lines of Resident Evil. So Resident Evil is what gave Konami an idea to make a horror game. And the people at Konami had no idea like what they were doing. Like it was a mess at first. They didn't know. So eventually they finally completed it, and it is still in the shadow of Resident Evil. I think they've just announced like Resident Evil 9 just
Yeah.
recently. So Resident Evil's still going just really, really strong.
Silent Hill, there's a Silent Hill 2 remake that is coming out for PlayStation 5 really soon. So Silent Hill is still going. Surprisingly, it has a lot of entries. I think there's like 12 games in the series altogether. Though
Right.
many of them I think would be considered spin-offs. I don't know.
Right.
Tell us in the comments
Yeah.
if
I
you
kind I
those
kind
are
of want.
spin-offs.
Yeah. I kind of want to backtrack what Steve was saying a little bit with like Silent Hill didn't know what they really were doing. You could almost say the same for Resident Evil 2 because I don't know if you guys know this, but there's actually a lot of the fans call it this. It's called Resident Evil 1.5. So basically, they had a game where it was like 2/3 complete, and then they scrapped it. And some people like dug it up online, and you can actually play it.
It
So
doesn't stay dead.
Claire Redfield is actually not one of the characters. It's like some motorcycle chick with like a bicycle outfit or motorcycle outfit.
Rob Halford.
But yeah, like you can get like decently far in that 1.5 like version of the game, which I thought that was neat. That just when Steve said that, it kind of reminded me of that.
So,
Pretty cool.
am I wrong? Are there two versions of Resident Evil 2 out on the PlayStation as well? Because I found the Resident Evil game, and then I found, I found Resident Evil 2, and then I found Resident Evil 2 DualShock Edition,
I
where
don't,
you can use the DualShock controller. Is it a
I
thing
don't,
with that, or?
I just think yeah, I just think that's what it is. What it is. There might be minor changes like between the games, but it's ultimately the same game.
Yeah, so I think the DualShock Edition comes with the option to play an arranged game,
Yeah. So
which I don't know. Does the regular one come with that?
I don't remember off the top of my head, but like what the arranged mode is basically very easy mode. So like you'll start with like a
I should have
machine.
played that one.
Yeah, you start with like a machine gun with like infinite ammo and stuff, and yeah, you could just blow past the game. But yeah, that's
Yeah,
all.
yeah.
That's
The
all it is.
DualShock one has the rookie mode, which as a kid, that's the one that I played. I had unlimited ammo. I was probably in like the 6th grade or something.
You'll be amazed how less scary Resident Evil is when you have a weapon with infinite ammo.
I'm the Predator.
Speaking of the Predator, if anybody hasn't seen it, go check out our Contra Operation Galaga episode because it has a great little Predator
Predator
Easter
style
egg.
Easter egg.
Not to self plug in our own stuff, but
You sure did. You plugged
self-plug.
outside the plug section.
Breaking the fourth wall like Silent Hill did.
Just two really similar titles in their approach. Steve's Konami story, I feel like, checks out because Silent Hill was released about a year and a half after Resident Evil 2, so I think it was probably a gracious enough time to develop a game, especially back then. I feel
Yeah,
like
Yeah.
crunch time definitely is a thing now, but I don't know if it was worse back then. Like if you
So,
think about like the video game crisis era of like Atari that almost like completely destroyed the video game industry because people were told they had to make a game in like 4 months,
well,
that's
dude,
like
crazy.
by
one of
themselves.
a fan favorite, Majora's Mask, was made in less than a year after Ocarina of Time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it shows.
I find a year is about standard. Yeah. Boy, let me tell you, if I don't play through the good Zelda games, let me tell you, Majora's Mask.
Oh,
I'm kidding. Majora's. I haven't beat it, but I've seen Steve play through most of it. It seems like a solid game, but I don't know. It's just one of those games that like people say, "Oh, you should play this." That one like never comes up.
It has a fan base that's very aggressive about their idea that it is the best Zelda game ever made, and they're pretty diametrically opposed to the people who say Ocarina of Time is the best Zelda game ever made.
well, they're all wrong. So
Because it's Link to the Past for you.
no, actually, my favorite may not be the best, but my favorite is Wind Waker. The updated version on the Wii U, the HD version, they increased the sailing speed, so that's like a big upgrade, quality of life that completely basically erases the only real problem Wind Waker had. It's a really good game.
I like talking about Zelda in this context because a lot these games, these two horror games, do feel quite a bit Zelda-like to me, which might be another reason I don't like playing them. On top of the fact that I'm a big scaredy cat,
Dungeon
but like
crawler type.
you got to no, it's not dungeon crawler.
Well,
Stop it.
not dungeon crawler, but like dungeon centric, right?
It's an
Like,
Easter egg hunt through a haunted house.
Pretty much, yeah.
Like that's what it is. And like
well,
Zelda is one giant Easter egg hunt.
yeah, and Zelda almost always has like a dark area. So, like in Ocarina of Time, for example, you have the Shadow Temple, and then in Majora's Mask, the fourth area is like whatever Land of the Dead, and then in Wind Waker, you have the Earth Temple, which is like undead and lots of
Well, you can't.
redeads and
Yeah, you can't forget about Link to the Past too. They have a whole Dark World.
a whole dark world. Yeah, so
Yeah.
I mean,
Whole
yeah,
dark world,
so
which is like Silent Hill.
yeah, it's kind of like that. You
Hey, it's
the
just
pyramid
horror
is
Zelda.
yeah, it's
Your
fun.
hammer is your master sword. You get the hammer, and now you start cleaving through all the basic enemies around you that
I,
your little kokiri pipe couldn't fix.
I
You
love
know,
that analogy because it's so true. That hammer is the Master Sword.
you pick up the little blood packet, da-na-na-na. And like there was this one moment where I was watching Steve. He pushed aside this big bookcase to find a door behind it, and I thought to myself,
Yeah.
but there is like a puzzle element to both these games, kind of.
No,
It's not
there is.
they're not hard puzzles, so that's why I kind of call it an Easter egg hunt,
come
right?
on,
Like
I mean,
come
I would
on.
say that Silent Hill's puzzles are harder than Resident Evil
Yeah,
puzzles.
those goddamn word puzzles, man.
they're
Let
not
me
that
tell you.
bad though. It's
So
like
if you understand like what the game's trying to tell you, then
Dan
yeah,
hates word puzzles.
they're not that bad. But like when you see like a word puzzle where like the bird is blue or whatever, and it's just like I have no idea what they're
Well,
talking
yeah,
about.
it's like so for example, I don't know all of the exact like verbiage used, but it's
Yeah,
like
I don't either.
the first crow is blah 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 next to the raven, or the last dove, and you're like, what is this trying to tell me? And not until you like really think about it do you think that some birds are white and some birds are black, and based on the color of the bird is the key that you have to hit on the piano, white keys or black keys, and it's really vague.
Yeah, I had to look it up. I don't have time for that.
My daughter's missing. Play this damn piano.
Harry pulls out his like phone and starts like googling it.
I was so stressed out by the time I got to the police chief's office in Resident Evil 2 that like I saw the safe. I'm like, I'm not hunting around for that code. I'm going online. Give me that code right now.
Yeah.
But
Dude, how about the voice acting? I know it's like early, but man, it really feels like Harry is not even like a little bit urgent
Scared.
about finding his
he's
daughter.
he's the only one that sucks though. Everybody else is pretty good.
He's like, my daughter's missing.
Like
Have you seen the
there's
little girl?
there's that one where like the phone rings and he picks it up and whoever's voicing the little girl's great.
Yeah.
She's like, "Daddy, help me!" Like scared, right? And then he's like, "Honey," Or like whatever her name is. I forget her name.
Cheryl.
Cheryl.
He's
Where
like,
are you, girl?
he's
Come here,
got
girl. Come here.
one lazy eye just going off in this direction. Like, Cheryl.
Cheryl. Very good, Harry. Cheryl.
My wife and daughter are missing. Or whatever. He's just not urgent about it at all. Have you seen a little
His
girl?
his inflection is all over the place. But that problem is all the way through Resident Evil 2.
Yep.
Every character is so screwed up voice acting, and like some people's mics are different too. Like you can hear the differences in
Yeah.
people's mics, and then like there's Ava, and then there's Mrs. Gherkin, Mrs. Pickle, Mrs. Birkin. Uh, she, she's the same voice as Ada. I'm convinced it's the same voice actor. So it sounds like they're talking to themselves because I can't tell who's speaking when it's voice acted. They sound the same. They might not be the same, but they sound very similar if they're not.
There's this one particular bad scene in Resident Evil 2 where Ada like quote unquote dies. And then you got, Leon like hovering over her and she's like, talking to him. And there's this one part where I like legit like Leon goes, Ada. And it like sounds like that. And it's like, oh my god, dude.
I feel like it was one of those
Yeah.
moments where they were in the same room recording this scene, and he was trying to make her laugh and
I was
screw up
like,
her line.
like you cannot be serious. Like that's the best you could do.
But like even the script, like I have a hard time caring about anyone, but I don't want to live without you. You're like, you've done nothing but run away from me and tell me that you have a boyfriend you're looking for. I'm not interested, lady. You know?
Leon's lonely, all right?
Very much so. But he ends up being like, if you so Resident Evil spawned a bunch of like animated movies. Leon's got like love interests out the wazoo.
How about the scene where he meets up with Claire inside the police station and he goes, "Let's split up."
Right? What? Why?
He's basically like, it'll be easier if we split up, to rescue everybody. It's like,
AKA,
no,
you're friend zoned.
Yeah. Oh man, yeah. The whole splitting up thing is just like a trope in Resident Evil series. I know if I was in that situation, strength in numbers, I don't care.
Until you hit.
You gotta
Resident
have somebody
Evil
to watch
5.
your back. Yeah, no, you have to have somebody watch your back in a zombie apocalypse. Somebody has to be looking at the thing you're not.
That's insane.
That's how you get got. You watch the thing in front of you and something bites your ankle. Like you gotta. Yeah.
I'm just like picturing like Leon running through like the police station and she sees like a dead Claire and then Leon's like, oh, Claire must have got.
She got caught.
Claire Redfield. More like Claire Deadfield.
Chris is gonna be mad.
He would hover over and go, Claire.
Claire.
Oh man.
All right. So I think I just want to talk about one more thing, I think, on my own personal agenda here. I expect there to be a lot more boss fights in both these games. Resident Evil 2 has surprisingly few boss fights. One, like, so there's like that G-Virus, like, cell thingy that you fight that turns into a bigger creature that spits little bugs at you. That's like one boss. Then obviously there's Birkin and his many forms. There's always that. I feel like there's always that character in Resident Evil.
You have the alligator boss too, but I think you can just mainly run away from that.
So I don't feel like the alligator. So the alligator I think is a boss, but the canister thing trivializes him.
Right.
Where you can make him bite that canister, shoot the canister once, and he dies.
Yeah.
So there's that. But then there's like the giant moth. and I don't think the moth is actually a boss. It's really hard to tell because it goes down pretty easily.
There's a giant moth boss in Silent Hill.
Yeah, there's a giant moth boss in both these games. Came back for redemption. But like,
That's
there's
why
only like,
we're pitting them against each other. They both have giant moth
yeah,
bosses.
the moth boss is the reason.
So if we did a three-way Coliseum, then we'd have to put A Link to the Past because it has a giant moth boss too.
See, we're connected again.
In the Dark World, even.
Zelda! But like I just figured there'd be more grotesque bosses, and in fact, enemies in general. Like I think Resident Evil does a great job with the enemies and the amount of kinds of enemies. Um, Silent Hill, like once you get over the shock factor of skinless dogs and weird pterodactyls, like when you go into the school, there's one enemy. It's
Yeah.
the little guys. When you go into the hospital, it's basically the little guys, except they're all grown up now and have doctorate's degrees.
Yeah.
Um, but they're all the same enemy, and like even when you cross over to the Dark World, there's no different enemies. I'm just a little disappointed. I feel like that was a huge miss here.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, in both games, really. I mean, like for a long time, it's mostly just zombies in Resident Evil until you get to like the sewer. There's crows and zombies. That's
You get a licker very very early on. He's like the second thing you fight.
and then
three kinds
dogs.
of enemies. You have three
And
kinds of
dogs.
enemies.
Dogs.
Yeah, I don't know. They both feel kind of scarce on the enemy types, or like for the amount of time that I played.
Spiders, plant zombies, giant
Yeah,
moths.
I think overall Resident Evil pulls ahead in that, but it's like it felt like mostly what I saw was just regular zombies.
Yeah,
Like-
zombies are like
care for it.
fodder in that game, and they're just littered throughout the whole game.
Silent Hill, you have bloody sock puppets in various shapes and sizes.
Yeah.
Well, I think the English or like the North American version of the game has different enemy sprites too, and I know like the Japanese version has like different enemies in the school, but in the version that we played,
Was it censored, maybe, or like? What,
yeah, there was
I
a
want-
censor problem. Not
Really?
problem, but yeah,
Well, I think the little things in the school are supposed to be children, like ghosts or
they look
demon
more
children
like
or whatever.
demons in the Japanese one that I'd seen. But
Yeah, that's weird that it was censored.
I mean, it doesn't pull punches with the scenery, which is why this theory is so weird to me, right? Because like if you go and play Silent Hill, there's like bodies strung up, like
Yeah.
emaciated bodies strung up in like crucified type of fashion, right? That would have been really
yeah,
frowned
that
on
opening
at the time.
cutscene was like, wow, for a PlayStation game. I was kind of shocked to see it, and as a kid, I would have been pretty scared.
Yeah, no, you wouldn't have caught me dead playing Silent Hill. Playing Silent Hill as a kid. No way. You
Yeah.
barely catch me dead now playing it as an adult.
I avoided those type of games when I was a kid. Like, it wasn't until
Still
like
do.
I would say until I was like 18 where I like really started playing them.
I would never play something like Dead Space. Not happening. Uh-uh.
I haven't played it. That's a game I have to play.
To each their own.
I wanted to talk about the story a little bit and like the big main antagonists. Where one is Birkin, I'd say for the most part. And you
Yep.
really only learn about him later through his wife, but also like the reports and stuff you pick up. But then in Silent Hill, there's the nun character. I think her name is like, geez, I'd have to look it up. I know it starts with a G. It's like Gustarov or something like that.
Yeah, I don't remember.
So like she turns out to be the big bad, and she's leading you on, and she's like a cult leader, and they're summoning a demon. So I just wanted to hear what you guys thought about the different stories and how they were handled and told.
Yeah, it feels like obviously Silent Hill does feel trippy because I know like that nun, she does mention like, oh, you've seen all the like the symbols on the ground, haven't you? And she basically tells you that there's two different worlds and whatnot, and like Dawn was saying, she's trying to summon like the demon. Like, I haven't finished the game, so I don't know how it ends, but
she like kind of helps you too.
yeah, and yeah, she like kind of guides you of like where you have to go and stuff. So I mean, I don't know like how it like fleshes out. with that.
I think the
Uh,
guidance in Silent Hill's better than the guidance in Resident Evil 2. I wandered around the police station doing nothing for a very long time.
to be fair, I was doing that in both games. Not so much Resident Evil 2 because like I've played it before, but like you literally like in Silent Hill, like I had to literally run to each dead end on the world map to figure out where the hell I was going. I don't
Yeah,
know
in the
if you guys
beginning.
had to do that, but I literally had to exhaust every single like road to
As
figure
soon
out
It's
where
as
I
I
done
had to
on
got
go.
purpose, though.
Yeah, as soon as I got all the keys, I was fine. It was like that, just that initial like
Yeah, the
beginning of the
opening
game.
part.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but I felt a lot less lost in the school and in the hospital and all the parts that I played after that. I felt like it's just look at every room and that's fine. Or so I mean, it got better, a lot better.
It
yeah, that's
does
fair.
give you objectives, right? So it's like, oh, she's at the school. You have to go to the school. So I think, I mean, you guys were playing it with me, so you were kind of coaching me because you had already been through it. But I think by design, the game would be like, all right, you would look at the map, you would see the school, you would try to go to the school, you'd hit a dead end. You'd say, okay, well, I'm going to go the other way then, because you can see the map is like a grid, right? And you're like, all
Right.
right, well, and then you try to go the other way, and then you hit another dead end, and then you try to go a different way, and you hit a dead end, right? And then you end up
Finding the
like,
papers at
oh,
one of the dead ends that
right,
tells you you need to go to the doghouse.
Yeah,
right, and well, it tells you the doghouse on Levin Street. Like it's not just like vague, like go find a doghouse now, but it actually tells you, right?
Yeah,
yeah. Can we appreciate just like the map system in Silent Hill and how he like marks it and whatnot? Like, so like if you hit a dead end, he'll like cross it off, letting you know it's a dead end. Or if he finds a clue, he actually marks it on your map, so like
yeah,
you know where to
really good.
go.
Yeah, and it turns into like a gameplay loop when you're in the dungeon. Like you basically run around and touch locked doors until you find an open one, and then you can check your map and you'll see he'll mark the locked doors, so you don't go back there again. It's kind
Really
of
good.
interesting.
Yeah, because now it's like especially when you're going through this building, like sometimes you'll forget, did I go through that area? But like you'll know because he'll mark it on the map. That is something that Resident Evil doesn't do as well.
You feel like you have to search everything in Resident Evil. And you feel like that in Silent Hill too,
Yeah, I'm
but I
running
think
around
it's a little
mashing
bit
the
more
X button.
directed. Yeah, you're just running. Well, me because I'm sniffing around for ammo. And in fact, I didn't even know I had a map in Resident Evil until way later, even though I picked it up from that safe because I was too happy to have the shotgun shells. I was like, oh,
How about the vending machine in the hospital?
Oh yeah.
That was cool. It's like, well, maybe there's something here. There's like a healing item. You're like, well, it's a vending machine. There could be more. Another healing item.
Yeah, that's when we were playing together. Don was
Yeah.
like, check it again.
do it again.
Ah, why not? Hey, another item.
Hey, look at that. The healing items are really abundant, it seems, in Silent Hill.
Which is
Silent Hill definitely
good.
seems like the easier game
Yeah,
overall.
yeah, I'd say so.
But I
At
think
least
that
for a
that's
first playthrough.
fine. Like, I mean, you're there for the atmosphere. You don't. If you want a more difficult game, then Resident Evil 2.
Yeah.
I think we're getting to the grading time. You guys want to move along and get this thing voted on?
Sure thing.
So before we get into the grading part, I just wanted to take a second and thank you for watching if you've made it this far. Thank you again if you're a subscriber, but if you're not, try hitting that subscribe button over there. It's free for you, means a ton to us. Definitely drop a like, definitely comment. We do reply to them. And if you are so inclined, want to hang out with us and the rest of our Discord crew, you may have heard that we have a Discord at some point in this episode. And it's a space where you can come, hang out, talk about game of the week, post some video game memes, catch up on some video game news, and hop on a gaming couch and maybe play with someone else in the Discord. Just a general feels good, play games space to hang out. And that
Yeah,
link will be in the description below.
it's a good time.
And then also we have a backlog of episodes right here on the listening platform that you are on. If you're on YouTube, you'll probably see them at the end of this episode. Just click over to our channel And if you're on any of the other podcast platforms, we're on Apple, Spotify, Audible, pretty much anywhere you can find podcasts. You can find our backlogs over there as well. Done some good games, some mixed feeling games, some not so good games.
Burn to the
In
ground, burn to
the
the ground, burn.
in the 9 or so months we've been doing this, so definitely check that out. But without further ado, let's talk about the categories individually, and let's talk about which side we stand on in the spirit of the election year. So, gameplay is a category that is just what it sounds like. It's how the game plays, the mechanics that are in it, the anything that's frustrating about it, like camera angles, stuff like that. So we'll offer final thoughts, and we'll vote one way or the other. I'm going to try to keep track here. Who wants to start? Gameplay.
I'll start. Gameplay for me, they were close, but I'm actually gonna go with Resident Evil 2 because it gives me more of that scary factor of limited ammo, limited inventory space and stuff like that. And when I want to play a scary game, I actually appreciate that stuff. I know it's not for everybody, but I know with Silent Hill, it's just having the infinite ammo and like the really strong melee weapons, it does make it less scary for me. So Resident Evil gameplay.
For me, I actually went with Silent Hill because I enjoyed having unlimited inventory space and not having to mess around with that every, you know, 15 minutes. And, I feel like I didn't have to backtrack as much to figure things out. I felt like the way that they handled the map was excellent. I was excited to keep playing. But it also is different because I've played Resident Evil 2 when I was younger, and this is the first time I played Silent Hill. So it was kind of a new experience. So there might be a little bit of new relationship energy, you would say, to play a new game. So,
He's
uh,
dating that game.
so I had fun playing Silent Hill gameplay wise. I felt like, I don't know, I felt like he also controlled better than Leon, just in general.
League's better, except when he's falling off stairs.
It's fine.
Whoa.
But he steps off stairs like we would all step off the side of stairs without expecting it, so that's fair.
All right, Don, you're the tiebreaker on this one.
Oh yeah, it is such an upgrade. So I went from Resident Evil 2 on week 1 to Silent Hill, and it is such an upgrade to have the camera follow you. I can't stress enough. Like, holy cow! Like, suddenly cheap deaths were a little more off the table. I did get like chain grabbed to death by those little like demons in the
Yeah.
school once or twice, but fine. Uh, and like the melee's there, the map is a single button, which I love. That is like that's like a quality of life thing you'd see in games now, where your map is on a hotkey essentially. So yeah, I'm just gonna say Silent Hill here. I think it's great. Gotta love the melee combat and the little execution kick too. Extra points there.
Kiku!
So presentation is also kind of what it sounds like. It's the game's atmosphere, the overall graphics. 4 or 4 not the time. I'll leave that up to your interpretation. The music, sound, stuff like that. I'll go first with this one. The presentation. So these games are both horror games, and they're designed to feel unsettling. I think they both definitely accomplish that in different ways. And if the goal was to be a horror survival game, I think that Resident Evil does it a little bit better for me. And I don't know if it's the jump scares, if it's the stress of all the inventory gameplay stuff that we kind of brought up in our discussion, if it's the realism of it. The creatures are pretty freaky too. Like those giant spiders just legitimately freak me out. I really don't like them. But also, Resident Evil's music is a mix between ambient creepiness, but also some really poppin' like tracks. Like when you fight Birkin for the first time on that elevator going down, that track is epic and it's awesome, and it makes you
Yeah.
feel pumped up to fight the boss. So there's a range of emotions going on there. So for that reason, I'm going to give presentation to Resident Evil 2.
Fair enough. Yeah,
Go ahead,
I mean,
Dan.
I echo a lot of those same sentiments with Resident Evil 2. Silent Hill definitely does have some stuff going for it too, where like we talk about the fog and whatnot. Like I do feel like that adds a element of like you don't know what's necessarily coming your way when you're out on the streets.
It's a really good
You
way to
can,
cover up tracking distance too. Yeah,
yeah, you
Yeah,
that
can
is
hear it with
significant.
the radio static though.
yeah, yeah. That you have the choice of turning that off if you want. And also like the different worlds where like everything's like rusted out and bloody when you're in the school building or the hospital. I thought that was a nice touch. I mean, I wish there was a little more variance between the two worlds, but I think I'm gonna very slightly give this to Silent Hill, just because I think that if you're going for like the psychological effect, they definitely hit the nail on the head with this game.
We got another tiebreaker. Love it.
I'm not going to beat a dead horse. Almost everything that I wanted to say has been said about both games, but I am going to give it to Resident Evil 2 for one reason that it stands above Silent Hill for me. Pre rendered backgrounds. They looked really good.
I thought the overall look of Resident Evil 2 was just better in general. Like the character sprites look better. Leon doesn't walk like he has a stick up his ass, like
Yeah,
like Harry does.
the pre-rendered backgrounds made the game look incredibly good for a PlayStation game compared
Yeah.
to all of the non pre-rendered, all like real-time rendered graphics of Silent Hill.
Pacing, which is the general pace of the game. If it's padded, it would probably lose points, or if it's level designs are poor, stuff like that. It's the things that we would talk about in this category. So I went first. I think Steve went first. Dan, you gonna go first with pacing?
Yeah, I'll touch up on pacing. So I really actually love Silent Hill's pacing, just because it's just like as we all said, where it's like if the fact that he marks the map, it's hard to get like lost. So if you actually explore everything, you'll eventually find out what you have to do. I mean, my only gripe is like if you're not good with word puzzles, you might have a little bit difficulty with that, which I did. um for Resident Evil 2, the pacing is fine for the most part, but there is times where like you can get lost a lot more, I feel like, because you could go into the police station and you could explore every room, and then you don't know what key goes to where, or like there's a lot of running around and trying to figure out where everything goes. You get a lot less of that in Silent Hill, and I appreciate that a lot. So I think Silent Hill is where I'm going with pacing.
All right, Don, you go.
All right. So things about Resident Evil's pacing. I think overall the story in Resident Evil is probably told better and more cohesively. Some of the stuff about Silent Hill's story is a little bit confusing and a little bit odd, and it's hard to even tell by the time you finish the game what exactly is going on. There's some speculation there. It's like your child like fused with this other, child and turned into a demon, and you started blasting away, and that's kind of the story.
So
But
anyway, I started blasting.
yeah, but it's a but what Dan said about the marking the map thing is like, I mean, if you play a Metroidvania, right, like you're going to get lost. And I think despite that, people still play Metroidvanias. And I think every one of us who plays a new Metroidvania probably gets lost at some point or another. But modern Metroidvanias have a map that gets marked as you play, so you kind of have an idea of where you've been and where you haven't. Silent Hill is kind of like that, right? If you're at the beginning and you're trying to find out how to get into the school, you're running around. Every time you hit a dead end, it gets marked on your map that this is a dead end. Where I struggled in Resident Evil 2, being a first time player, was that there were all these doors in the police station, and they all have different card symbols on them, and I'm just supposed to remember that because he doesn't mark them on the map or anything, and you get the keys at different times, and you got to run around looking for the door that the key goes to. So I don't know. I spent a lot more time in the police station than I needed to. I think I spent like 4 hours total before I got to the parking garage, basically. So that was kind of annoying. So I think Silent Hill does give you objectives, and I think it has a really good pacing to get you through the story. Um, so for that reason, I'm definitely going to give it to Silent Hill here.
Okay. Um, so echoing a lot of the same sentiments that these guys have said, but I'm also going to throw some more props to Silent Hill on pacing. So, along with everything that everybody said, I felt like I got to move between areas more often in Silent Hill. Like, there's like three main areas in Resident Evil 2. Like the city is only like what, like three screens, and so like I played for like almost 3 hours, and all I had was the police station, and it's like not a very wide array of things to look at.
There's a
Whereas
lot of backtracking too. They
where
send you back through the hallways a lot.
whereas in Silent Hill, I played for 4 hours. I played like one more hour on that game than I did Resident Evil, but I had seen two different sections of towns, two different sections of the school, two different sections of the hospital. It just there was more to explore more often, and I think that that just helps me get bored a lot less. So I'm going with Silent Hill on pacing as well.
All right, playability. So basically, this category can be a couple different things. One is how accessible the game is to play today, but also, how likely you would be to play it in 2024. You can also talk about the aging factors here. That really is the essence of this category. So I also like to mention at this point, like how achievable it is to play these games. So Resident Evil 2, I think, is available on the GameCube as the newest version of this of Resident Evil 2. I'm going to call it Classic because there is a remake out there. And I think that most of the time, if you were to talk about playing Resident Evil today, I think most people would just play the remake. I don't really think there's much reason to backtrack through this PlayStation game. Um, Silent Hill, on the other hand, the first game has never been remade. There was an HD collection at one point, but it got removed from the Steam store, so you can't buy it now. It's not available for PC any longer. So, really, one of the only ways you have to play this game is on the original hardware. And I think anyone who knows anything about retro game collecting knows that this is a hard one to get. This game will cost you $200 to buy one. That's a heavy price tag, so it's not very playable. So, emulation is really, a good option to play it, but I don't really count emulation when I talk about playability these days. But as far as aging factors go, I think Resident Evil suffers really badly from the fixed camera angles. I got cheap death after cheap death just because I can't see what is 6 inches in front of me. Because when I say fixed cameras, I don't mean like a Final Fantasy VII fixed camera where you're zoomed out and you can see everything. I mean like sometimes the one screen you're on is like Leon standing 6 inches away from the next screen, and that's all you got. And the zombie walks on screen, he's already going to hit you. Like, and there's nothing you can do. And you can't hit things that aren't on the same screen as you. And like that was a huge problem for me. I also don't like the inventory management. However, that might not be an aging factor. That might be done intentionally. But regardless, I think because Silent Hill, the graphics aren't as good, but it feels like it has more modern game sensibilities to it. So I think it ages a little bit better. And it doesn't have a remake, so if you're going to play it, you're going to play this one. So I think I'm going to give this category to Silent Hill personally.
Okay. So for me, um, I'm gonna mention the scenarios for Resident Evil 2. So essentially, there's like four different endings in Resident Evil 2, like depending on how you play it. Like if you do like Leon A, Claire B, or that you do Claire A and then Leon B.
Are you taking a replayability slant with this?
A little bit,
Yeah.
but I'm just just thinking that there's just a lot of ways that you can play this game. Silent Hill, I know like there's 4 different endings and whatnot, but I think Dawn was saying you can like save scum and whatnot. Um, but yeah, at the end of the day, I'm just gonna keep it short. I think if there was a game I was gonna play more of, it'd definitely be Resident Evil 2.
That leaves me. I get to be the tiebreaker. So I'm just going to say one thing about this. As far as I'm concerned, like, I love retro games, but there's a remake for Resident Evil 2, and it's like widely considered like exceptional, right? So in my mind, as much as I love retro games, if I was going to play Resident Evil 2 right now, I would play the remake. I wouldn't go back and play the PlayStation version. And for that reason, I'm going to go with Silent Hill because we're pitting the PlayStation versions against each other. PlayStation Resident Evil 2 and PlayStation Silent Hill. There is no replacement for Silent Hill. There is a, for the most part, replacement for Resident Evil 2.
I would agree. Last category is choice specs. This is stump time. We get to basically let all of our biases hang out, or essentially pick, any kind of unique factors or whatever it is we want to, however we want to assess these games. It's like we truly get to pick which game that we like better in this category. Steve, why don't you kick us off here?
So, for me being a first-time player of Silent Hill, I was exceptionally surprised. Initially, I wasn't having fun. Like, right in the beginning of the game, I wasn't having fun. And I think that playing it with you guys next to me that one night for a few hours changed my opinion greatly. I was able to have a lot more fun with it than I did with Resident Evil 2. The controls are better, the map is better, the environments don't look as nice, but it has a more like creepy feeling, which I prefer over the straight up gore and horror. I love a creepy atmosphere more than anything in a scary medium. So overall, I had more fun with Silent Hill this 2 weeks.
Fair enough. Yeah. For me, I'm just gonna outright and say it's Resident Evil 2 for me, because I don't know. I've actually beaten all the older school like Resident Evil games like that have these type of controls and these type of mechanics. So that tells you right there that I enjoy the formula. Not to say that I don't enjoy Silent Hill's formula, but I don't think, for me personally, me playing this game would behoove me to play Silent 2 and 3 and so on. Like I just I don't know what it is, but it's just not as fun to me. Um and yeah, I mean
I
that's
mean,
all there is
nostalgia
to
is a
it.
perfectly good reason to
Yeah.
pick on choice specs. It's whatever reason you want. So if
Yeah.
nostalgia holds it up for you, this is the perfect place to place
Yeah,
it.
I like the gameplay of Resident Evil, and it's I know you guys might not like it as much, but I love it.
So, I like to talk about unique factors for these two, and I think one of the really things that stand out to me here is just the fact that Resident Evil 2 is like 2 games. Like you can play as one character or the other, and it is wild that one scenario affects the other. Well, on the other hand, though, in Silent Hill, it is wild that that game messes with you
It
in
does.
the way that it does. And like I don't think there's another game on the PlayStation 1 that messes with you quite so bad as Silent Hill does. I mean, we were all sitting there like, "Oh, was there a
Well,
button? Was there, wasn't there a button?" Like it's
isn't it?
strange.
Isn't it? Not to cut you off, but in Metal Gear, isn't like Psycho Mantis? He's like
Oh
change
yeah, you have
controller
to like,
ports or
yeah,
whatever it is.
plug yourself into the second player controller so he can't read your inputs anymore.
Yeah,
Yeah. So maybe there was a little bit more of that stuff going
but
on
it's
than
also
I
Konami.
was.
They're pretty
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, Konami's shifty. Watch him. But I think Resident Evil, and then like Resident Evil changes when you play through it again with like the Tyrant boss, and there's new final bosses too. Like there's a separate Birkin enemy that chases you on the train. There's a final Tyrant boss you can fight as Leon, right? And that's all stuff you can't get through the first playthrough. You'd only find out. So, and I just think that those kind of things are really interesting to me when we talk about retro titles, because retro titles are usually just you play through the game. Maybe there's one or two choices that can change the outcome a little bit at the end, or maybe there's a true ending, whatever. But like usually it's just the game is the game. But Resident Evil was designed to be played a bunch of times. And if you want to joke around and have fun, or if you're a new player, you can go over to the arranged mode. It's a separate game mode, right, where you get better weapons and it's easier. So yeah, I'm beating the dead horse here, but I'm going to say it's Resident Evil 2 for my choice specs here, narrowly. All right, so our final tally is a point to Silent Hill. So, sorry, I didn't explain this at the beginning, but we have 5 categories, right? So majority rules in each category. So what we'll end up with is a score one way or the other for which game is better. So Silent Hill took gameplay for 1 point. Resident Evil 2 took presentation for 1 point. Silent Hill unanimously took pacing for another point. Silent Hill also took playability, because it doesn't have a remake mostly. And then choice specs was taken by Resident Evil. That means a 3-2 score. Silent Hill is our winner for this Coliseum for horror game dominance.
But they're both wonderful.
So, love it or hate it, leave us a comment below. Tell us how much you enjoy this outcome
These
or
guys
hate this outcome.
suck.
These guys suck. And that's what we thought. But our Discord was actually opposed to us. So we had 63% of the vote say Resident Evil 2 was the better game of the two, while we had 38% say Silent Hill was the better game.
So,
but hey, I think we gave it a really fair analysis. So
yeah,
sorry.
Yeah.
Resident
You're
Evil
wrong.
2,
You're
we
wrong.
have Gungrave, Tom, Wingard, Avatar, and Hapney. And then on
All wrong.
Silent Hill, it was Don, JMO, and Jason. So
I thought you guys were going to vote.
I had not voted. I wanted to keep mine
Resident
secret.
Evil 2 all the way.
I wanted to keep
We
mine
usually do.
secret for the episode.
I don't think everybody can see it. I only think we can see that.
Oh,
maybe.
maybe. I don't
Yeah.
know.
Anyway. So we're going to set these two games aside now. Now we're going to pick from the viewer pool.
Woo!
And in this viewer pool, I saw we have a couple of team-ups happening where two people pick the same game to
I
try to
know.
increase the chances of us playing
Yeah,
it.
I think that's the first time I've seen that.
Yeah, first time in Cable Club history, and it happened twice. Steve, randomize us a viewer pool game.
All right, here we go.
How many entries do we have? First.
10.
10. See? Look at that. If you didn't submit to the viewer pool, just think how close you could have been to having your game your game picked. Very nice. Anyway, proceed.
So this is a game that I've been meaning to try. I think it's a card-based game, like a card-based RPG style game. And it is the first of, I think there's 2 of them on this system that this one is on. But I think there might be a 3rd game in the series. Do you guys want to guess which one it might be?
It's going to be one of the ones I don't know.
Yeah, that's why it's a guess.
I'm gonna say it's that Kingdom game.
You want to take a stab at it, Don, or are you going to go with Dan's pick?
It's Baldur's Gate Dark Alliance. Let's go.
No. It's Lost Kingdoms on the GameCube. It was submitted by both Lycianthia and Denko Misty.
It's a card game?
Yeah, I think it's a card-based battle system.
I'm very excited now.
Yeah,
This
I haven't
is a
played
game I want to play.
it. Well, we get to play it for 2 weeks. I'm pretty excited.
Yeah, I
Lost
haven't heard of it,
Kingdoms.
so it'll be new to me.
I could be wrong, and it could be something else that I'm thinking of, but I'm pretty sure this is a card-based battle system like RPG game.
Okay, yeah. All right. So, find a way to play Lost Kingdoms with us for the next 2 weeks and write in your thoughts, and we'll include them on next episode. But for now, I think it is game over, fellas.
Game over.
Game over.
Time, monster! You don't belong in this world!